So you're going to prompt them with questions about each song? Or just yeah.
How we going? My name's Jamie. I do vocals in Polaris.
My name's Dan, I play drums.
My name's Jake, I play bass and sing.
And we're gonna be doing a little track by track here today for Blunt Mag for our new album, which is called The Death of Me. This track came together over a really long time. Some of these ideas were being tossed around like quite a long time, like almost a year and a half to 2 years before the record was really even coming together, but we just didn't really know how to treat the song.
I guess we were coming up with difficulties trying to make it stand out from certain other songs that we'd written before. We were very conscious when writing that song to make sure that it had an original structure and flow. I think lyrically, it kind of, to me, it almost feels like the epilogue for the album. Like it's like a establishing story that kind of sets up a few themes and narratives, and then...
Do you mean prologue?
Prologue, you're right, sorry. I guess the story of the album or the narrative really kicks off past that point. It's song 2, but yeah, this is sort of like the establishing first chapter. Yeah.
But yeah, lyrically, that song, I guess it's kind of discussing this idea that maybe we're all born with, I guess, a positivity, or we're born with this idea of hope and goodness that's, I feel, kind of innate in most people. But then over time, you know, the more you learn about the world and the more you're exposed to what's really out there, and I guess like the darkness of human behavior, eventually over time, it's like life can kind of rob you of that good that I think we all kind of start with. Also trying to remember throughout that there is so much good worth holding on to.
This is one of the
This was
first song.
Yeah.
It's the first song that was finished, I think.
The first song that pretty much was a finished, fleshed out song in the early stages of writing this record.
And it felt different, it felt fun, and I think we leaned into like the style of song that it was. Like we decided for the first time ever that this would be a song that didn't need clean vocals.
And then there was, I don't know, I guess just the place that we were in the time, and the way the music was making me feel personally was like the song just kind of ended up being this really intense song about feeling like you're basically losing your mind and bouncing through polar opposite moods all the time. And
like, just at least me personally, like I think we spent the longest, or this was the song that we spent the most amount of work on.
Got a lot
just
of
trying to
pre-prep.
like nail down the takes the way that we really wanted to express
That day, the three of us,
feelings and the lyrics about it, and it also not only that, but the first time actually introducing Jake doing screams on a record as well. It was the first time we were like, no, we want that in this song.
Masochist was another one of the earliest songs that got that became part of the record. I think I can remember actually coming up with the chorus when we were on tour. I wrote some lyrics into my phone, which was the melody for the chorus and the lyrics for the chorus. When we were on the Never Say Die tour, like straight after the first album came out.
It's funny, looking back, my first thoughts on this was like, no,
I feel like not even just in our
music.
music, you have a track record of having like a certain level of, I guess you sometimes when you listen to a new song and you're shocked by it, you go, I don't like this. It isn't so technically proficient. I think it is more about the message behind the song, and I think it was important for that to be conveyed and really apparent to the people watching or listening to it for the first time. And I think we got that, because I think that when it did come out, a lot of the comments that I was seeing was a lot of people responding really positively to the story. It's just one of those songs that gets to be, it's a cathartic outlet of where we were at the time, I think.
I'm gonna go out there and say that this is the heaviest song that we've ever written.
So
Probably
far,
in a way that you're not.
That's a subjective thing, but I think we all feel that way.
Expect to hear a Polaris song, like it's not your kind of like consume or lucid kind of heavy. It's a different style that we've managed to accomplish. I'd say arguably our heaviest.
We just wanted something hard and fast that people could fight each other to in the crowd. And I think the fun thing about this was when we came up with that, for so long we've talked about doing something really chanty, and like I feel like for the last 3 records, Ryan has gone,
those hey moments.
Can we do a hey part?
Yeah, hey.
And we'll just like get the crowd fist pumping in the air doing hays, and then with this record, this song just kind of, it was just there in one of the parts. It just called for it, and it was one of the first. I think one of the first vocal ideas I had for the song was that hey part, and which became the chorus. Vagabond also started, funnily enough, Vagabond, similarly to LANDMINE, started right at the beginning of that European tour. We were in Amsterdam in like an apartment that we were staying in.
Another shredded riff?
A lot of seeds of ideas came
I was
from
playing
that
guitar
time.
at the time, badly. But
I remember when we extended the outro, we're like, we'll put a solo here, and the solo Ryan came up with, I think he thought he'd gone too far.
Yeah.
Like he was like, oh, this is too dad.
Yeah,
And I think
we're
the
like,
rest
no,
of us,
it's not really
majoritively, we were like, nah, this is it.
Let's
Like,
just go
you've gone
straight
as far as you needed to go.
Go straight dad rock on it. Even just doing some fun little silly things that we'd always joked about doing. But there was this point where we went, do you think we could slap a tambourine into this last chorus? And when we did it, it was like
tambourine and organs. It is a happy song. It's almost owning the fact that you're a bit of a loner or a bit of a weirdo. And for us, that relates to the fact that we go away and come home and we almost don't feel like we have our own place because we're either like dipping between two different worlds.
The song kind of stemmed from a riff that never actually made it on the actual song.
Yeah, isn't that such a shame? That riff will get
It's still in the bank.
I think we're all like a couple of beers deep and like, I think we're going nowhere with this. I'm like, hang on, I think I've got something that works with this.
That was during one of your like,
just kind of
bolstering moments of like you were kind of rallying.
Everyone else
guys, like
everyone else had been
we
really.
have an album to finish.
Yeah.
And we were on such a tight schedule.
We went through
like,
waves
we
in the
need to fucking
studio where
get
certain
shit
people
going,
would
like-
have all this like that bravado and energy and just like was trying to hype up and like support everybody else to get in the room and do what we've been doing for days. And we'd all take turns on being like, nah, today's not my day. I just don't want to be here doing this.
The lyrics are literally about us trying to.
Kind of about that
Are
situation.
about it's
the
almost
album,
about
like,
us trying to work out how to agree with each other.
Yeah.
When we're in,
It
like
was almost
creatively,
like
it's
an open
about.
letter to one another about how we all feel.
Yeah.
I think all the songs, I think Dan always tries to kind of make sure that the lyrics can be something that we can relate to as a band, but that one was very like that piece in time, that moment, as we were writing the song.
Yeah.
This is how we
quite
felt
direct.
about the process of writing said song. And that's kind of, that's the identity that the song's taken on for me.
This was actually, I think just like instrumentally, I at first wasn't really that big of a fan of, I guess, but...
Dude, don't say that.
No, being honest.
It's always the
hard
really
when you
melodic,
have-
the
when
really
you have
melodic
I
songs.
don't want this on the record.
When you have
now
an
it's like
idea-
one of my favorite
When you
songs
have an
to do
idea
vocally
of
on
what
it,
you want the
like-
album to sound like, before you start really getting into the bulk of writing songs, you go, we're going to go for this. And then when a song starts getting written that's a bit contradictory to that, you kind of go, well, what are we doing here? Are we really going down the direction we wanted to go? But
I
often
think
or
that's
not, those
where I was
songs,
kind of coming from.
Yeah.
those songs
about
end up
that,
being
yeah.
worth pursuing because they don't fit the idea that you come up with to begin with, but they give the album diversity. Like
Yeah.
it was worth pursuing because we felt it was something a bit different. It's like a confession too, the song. It's kind of almost like saying, it's like a hand up saying, like I'm not really coping.
I can't handle this.
I'm in something right now and I know I can't back away from it and I know I don't want to back away from it, but I'm really not coping, sort of thing. And it's really,
I'm just not
and
ready.
It's getting to me.
I guess it's realizing, that the situation you're in is dividing you from the people you care about and trying to work out how to pull that together. I never would have imagined ever that in this metalcore band that we've been doing that I would literally play just like straight, like the straight rock beat,
bro.
rock beat on the hi-hats that you learn when you're like 10 years old and you're starting to learn drums. Like it's like, but I love that there was a way that it just felt right to do that kind of stuff in this song and just let the vocals breathe. And I feel like when I hear those guitar melodies, I still feel something really intense.
But I think we all kind of like is identified as such a black sheep, but that's why we wanted to go.
That's why we had to do it.
It wasn't like this song got written because we felt like we needed to go more in a certain stylistic direction. It was like, it was a piece of music that one of us had written that was up for grabs as a Polaris song, and we were like, yo, if we do something with this, it's gonna be really different.
Yeah.
I think to put out a song for us that it's probably the one that like maybe most of our parents will enjoy because there is so much melody to it.
That's gonna be my mum's favorite song for a really long time.
yeah.
I know that.
So much. Have Jake singing more.
Yeah.
And it's like a lyrically sort of like ambiguous song in a way. I think that for a long time, Dan couldn't really tell me what it's about.
took me a while
I have
to
my
work
own
out.
opinion on what it's about.
Yeah.
It's probably different from what it's about to you.
The way I look at it is just like, it's about feeling like you're constantly being torn from this pressure of you're trying to be a different person. You're trying to occupy all these different roles to different people in your life, and you're trying to be so many things at once and be a good friend to your friends, be a good family member, be a good partner, be a good band member, be a good artist, and all these other things in between, and just constantly feeling like you're being pulled apart by this need to please the people in your life or to be what they need you to be, and in the midst of that kind of feeling like you lose yourself, and then feeling and every now and then, and you can put it away for a while, but every now and then just that
Comes back.
it just crashes down and you're like a wave. And I think it's a hard song to talk about because when I think about like yeah, I don't know how to explain it literally, but it's like, just when I think about it, it just hits me really hard, that song. I don't know why it is, but.
And it was also a really good opportunity for Ryan to spend like a bit of time, I mean, because he's got such a lengthy solo in that song, and it's so different in terms of mood from any other song that we've ever written. The solos obviously come out so different from that as well.
I love that solo.
And yeah, and he labored over that, and it came out really cool. And yeah, it's just a song I'm really looking forward to playing when we finally decide to pull it out. All of This Is Fleeting.
So All of This Is Fleeting.
This was a straggler from the last album.
Yeah, it's pretty much
Almost made it.
It was about half, maybe dare I say 3/4 of a song when we were with the Mortal Coil, and it never really made it. It never got to a finished stage, and
this is almost about like it's like a
questioning your own
legacy in a way as well.
Whether anyone will ever really care about what you're doing, or whether anyone will remember it in when you're gone, or even in 10 or 20 years. Like it's like what do we leave behind, and how much does it matter?
It's an acknowledgement of how much we place on the art, or the work that we leave behind, or the legacy that we have, but also this strange acknowledgement and existential kind of like realization that none of that really matters. Like what we deem to be so important and to be like what defines us is kind of really not that important in the grand schemes of the universe. And that's kind of where that line ties. And is there anybody out there? Is anyone really even listening? And then at the same time, the song still kind of resounds with that, like, I couldn't let go of what I'm doing. Like, this is what I'm doing here, what I'm working on is so
whatever
ingrained.
It's worth, it's something.
It's something to me, Like, and whether it means nothing to anybody else, even though it's so important to me, it defines me,
Quick shout out to Rick's shuffle breakdown that kind of brought that song together, because that was one of the things that finally allowed us to really close the song off, was that huge shuffly breakdown, which we've never really
done. There was so much melody within the song, and we knew we wanted to do something heavy, and the breakdown tempo was too slow, and triplets were the answer.
Triplets
in fact, triplet
came to the rescue.
Was in fact the answer, wasn't it? I'm glad that we have a breakdown like that now. If Landmine's the heaviest track, this is, in my opinion, maybe some of the darkest lyrics.
It's something where I was putting myself in another character as a writer, rather than just writing as myself. But it's writing from the point of view of a person who's woken up from like essentially an apocalyptic dream to find themselves in hospital, recovering, and trying to.
Attempted suicide sort of.
It's almost like that, and then trying to work out from there, trying to piece together what's happened, and then ultimately trying to resist that call to just. There's literally there's a sound in the song that we like. There's this lyric about listening to the sound that echoes from the deep. Yeah. But there is a musical motif that we labeled like the voice from the deep. When we were writing it, we were like, that's what that is.
That's what that is.
Sound.
Yeah. And it's this weird kind of like back and forth sort of like nerdy section that kind of just feels ominous somehow.
Yeah, it was a difficult song to write as well. There were a lot of things I was looking at and going, I don't know if I'm really feel comfortable putting this on paper, but it felt very raw and powerful. And I think anything that you look at it and go, I don't know if I'm ready to say that, it's almost a sign that it's like, you need to say that if that's how you feel.
The worst case scenario to the idea established in Pray for Rain, where it's
isn't it? Yeah.
It is very much like the Pray for Rain sets up that kind of idea that everyone has a finite sense of positive energy. That final song is really kind of where
it's
you're
lost,
at.
it's gone.
It's at. That's where you're at. Like that's what it looks like to have that entirely depleted, and that was kind of like where we felt was the most powerful way to end the record, and what we were saying. Yeah, I think it was obvious to us that it was the perfect ender, and it stayed that way from its beginning to when it finally made it on the record.
There was nowhere else we could go from there. It was like that's how it's closing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
Yeah, that's the death of me.
Yeah,
sick. I actually think that's surprisingly well. Actually, that was difficult, but beer.
Everyone, we've been Polaris, hanging out with Blunt. Our new album, The Death of Me, is out now. I hope you enjoy it.